Alright, so today we're going to learn how to change the rear wheel on an Outrider. Whether you have an Alpha or the Horizon, the process will be the same. Since this one does have pedals and a chain on it with the tensioner, we're going to first loosen the boom and put it all the way in so that there is not as much tension on the chain. You will want to mark the spot on the boom where you like having it set, so you can easily go right back to that after you've moved it. But this will just make it so the chain's not as tight and we won't have to fight the rear wheel as much. Next, we'll prop the bike up on a stool so the rear wheel spins freely. It's also important to remember to turn off your bike completely when changing the rear wheel so you don't run into any fingers getting snagged. So that is no good. Alright, so now that's propped up and our rear wheel spins freely, we can get going on it. Your bike should come with a wrench installed on the side of the swing arm, which is removed by taking off these thumb screws and it slides off. I have my own shop wrench here I'll be using instead of theirs. So we'll first loosen both sides of your bolts, which should be a 15mm wrench that's already built into your Outrider wrench that comes with the bike. So we'll loosen both of those until you can easily spin them with your fingers. Next step will be to loosen the belt by adjusting the cam with the pins on your wrench that go into the holes on the cam. So that should be able to move freely as well. And we'll do that same thing on both sides. And then we should be able to slide the wheel all the way forward so your belt is nice and loose, which allows you to slide it off easily. And since we loosen the chain on this side, there's a lot of stuff kind of in the way here, but the easiest thing to do will probably be to push the tensioner so it takes the tension off and tuck your chain over to the outside of the dropout. It's also important to remember here to unplug your Di2 cable from your Alphine hub so that you can remove the wheel without damaging any of your wiring. Now we can slide the wheel out slowly because we have to tuck the chain over that bolt. Now the wheel is totally out. You can do whatever we need to do. Change the tire, change your flat. And to get the wheel back in, it's important to make sure that the belt and the chain get placed in the right spot, which can be a more challenging activity. Anyway, so we'll pull back the chain. Don't worry about pulling on it because the tensioner will move and let you adjust that. We also have to make sure, if you'll come to the other side, that your belt is in the right position so it'll go over the pulley once it's on there. We won't be able to get it on, however, until the wheel's seated all the way in the frame. So we'll just have it sitting like this to where once the wheel's in there you can see that it would easily go on the pulley. Next step, we will need to line up the dropout adapters, which you don't need to remove the bolt or the cam. I'm just going to, so you'll be able to see what I'm talking about as we get them in there. So those have to line up so that they'll easily slide into the dropouts. And they're on both sides. Make sure they're flush with the wheel and the bottom out on the axle at the hub. So once they're in there, we should be able to tap on the rear of the tire and slide the wheel all the way back forward. And at that point, your chain's on where it's supposed to be, and make sure your belt is up on your pulley of your drive motor, and you can wrap it back around your gear. So that was the hard part. If you got that far, you're almost done. Next, we don't want to tighten the bolts until we get the cams to where they need to be. So we'll take our pins on our wrench again, line them up with the holes so we can move the cam to tighten the belt. And this will put tension on the belt without having to manually do it. And you want the belt to not have a lot of play up and down, but you don't want it so tight to where you can't turn it. You should be able to easily twist twist the belt 90 degrees like that without too much effort. Then you can snug up your bolt by hand just a little bit, keep the cam still while you're adjusting it. So on the other side, once you have the belt tension correct, you want to adjust this cam so it changes the spacing of your axle to where it centers the belt on the pulley when you spin the wheel. Because if it's not in the right spot, the belt won't ride in the middle of the pulley. And you may have to play with it a little bit until you get comfortable with what's going on, but basically what I'm doing is adjusting the angle of the pulley in reference to the belt. We get a shot from the back so we can see the belt alignment here. So we can see that the belt is sitting off to the side to the left there. And that when you spin it, we want it to walk to the middle. So we need to loosen it so the pulley tilts over. Eventually, still checking the belt tension through the process, getting the pulley at the right angle so it sits centered. See that as I made adjustments and spin the wheel, the belt has centered itself to the middle of the pulley. And that's right where we want it. It doesn't have to be exact, but we want it to be pretty close to the middle. And once you get to that point, you can go ahead and tighten down your axle nuts so that the wheel as well as the cams stay in the same position. Alright, good and tight. We'll go ahead and plug in our Di2 cable, making sure not to be in the way of the chain. Hook that back up so you can shift gears. And then once we get the boom back into position, we'll have tension on the chain as we did before. And that's it. Change the wheel.
Thanks, Shane.